Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone is doing good. My name is Geraldine Mugumya. I am a volunteer for the ISC Uganda chapter, and I welcome you to this webinar, which is going to touch on cybersecurity trends for 2024. Just a little bit about the chapter for anyone new who has just joined this call. The ISCT Uganda chapter is a dynamic and vibrant community that is committed to fostering the development of information security expertise among professionals in Uganda. This webinar is sponsored by the National IT Authority, which is an independent agency entrusted with the responsibility of providing e-government services to the people of Uganda. Just a few rules of engagement before I invite and introduce our distinguished speaker. Please use the Q&A option at the bottom of the screen and also the chat to send in your questions and your comments as the session progresses. Now, I would like to introduce our special guest for today, Diana Gaba, who is the Chief Information Security Officer at Stanbic Bank and is a very active member of the ISCT Uganda chapter. She is a cyber resilience evangelist, a career in cybersecurity advocate. She has a passion about all things cybersecurity, and she gets her satisfaction in knowing that the work she does not only secures organizations, but as well as their businesses, but also helps to protect people's livelihoods and privacy. She brings more than 14 years of experience in managing information technology systems, implementing information security programs in large enterprises, majorly in the financial and banking industry. She has a wealth in formulating cyber resilience strategies, implementing cyber security governance and management programs. She is a very active member of key professional bodies that includes ISC2, Women in Cybersecurity, as well as ISACA, where she has done most of her speaking experience as a moderator, speaker, or panelist. Without further ado, I would like to hand over to Diana. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm quite humbled for that detailed introduction, and it reminded me of a video that I recently watched from one of the employers at NSSF who said, "What is your identity without your job?" And yes, I'm proud to work at Stanbic Bank and have the job that I have, but beyond that, I try to look at myself as a cybersecurity, like you said, passionate evangelist, SME, that I should be able to apply myself beyond the context of any organization. So thank you so much for that introduction. And I'm also really, really glad to be here after a while. I know we're joking around it before the conversation started. So yes, I'll be talking about the trends of cybersecurity going into 2022. But I also know that we have a wealth of information, not like in our age where we waited in class for the teachers to tell us everything that we needed to know. If you just put in cybersecurity trends in Google, you will get a wealth of data that I believe anyone could say I could find this information there. So my hope is that within this presentation, we'll spark a deeper conversation and a self-assessment to say, okay, I am charged with the security of this organization, or I am accountable in whatever executive position you are in your organization to ensure that we have a cyber-safe environment. What trends have I prioritized, and what can I learn from what the rest of the world is prioritizing? So let me quickly share my screen. Put it in presentation mode. Great. I hope you can see my presentation. So today we'll have a conversation around the opportunities and obstacles that security leaders foresee going into 2024. And I thought I would start before we even dive into the trends and everything. Where is cybersecurity in the global landscape of risk? And hence why we need to really ensure that we are aligned with what is going on, or we are aware, and that informs how we also add value to the organizations that we work for. So the World Economic Forum recently released two reports, one on the global risk landscape, and the other one on the cybersecurity outlook going into 2024, and put cybersecurity as top 4 in terms of the risks that we need to really pay attention to as organizations, as leaders, because it has immense impacts on any organization and any business. And we see that going into 10 years from now, I want to believe either we'll have gotten a hang of it, or the technologies that we are worried about in this current age, be it AI and quantum computing, will have adopted them in cybersecurity, that they will have enhanced it to the point that it actually does drop in terms of criticality to say 8th position. But that alone, we have this new risk, and we could sit here and say it is not cyber, it is cyber, but we have already seen it being used in a cyber way to, carry out attacks, and that is the risk of misinformation and disinformation. And I thought that before I even dive into cyber, is to highlight what that means for us, even as we try to do cyber the right way, how it makes, phishing as more sophisticated as it will have to get with the, AI technologies coming through. So the World Economic Forum says that as the most severe global risk anticipated ever, the next 2 years, we're going to see misinformation and disinformation that will continuously widen the societal and political divide. And Google Clouds also asserts that in the context of the countries that we live in, that being Africa, that we'll see more, of influence from Russia and China on Africa, targeting African countries with cyber campaigns designed to spread misinformation, so discourse and undermine democratic institutions. And we know that a lot of our countries in Africa are going to go to the polls this year. And you might think that as cyber experts, we contribute more to, private organizations and whatnot, but if there's a political turmoil, we are also impacted, and we have to take it all the way to the economy that we operate in to ensure that we are applying ourselves as well. The other keynote before we dive into the discussions, and this is still laying foundation of why do we have to look at cybersecurity and be aware of the trends that lie ahead of us. I'm fortunate to have access to Statista that does collect information from all the different top, sites that you'd want to go to get credible insights in any of topics that you want. And it runs polls that gives us, like we always say, this is around trends. So I went very statistical on what trends are there, and we'll just be adding on top of those trends insights that we pick from there. So from what this question on the extent that the following technology innovations will impact organizations' performance in 2024, we say that most companies think that cybersecurity will have a high and very high effect on their businesses or in their performances in 2024. And that is 40% of that. Of course, when you go down the line and you see, communication technologies, that is the fun where misinformation and disinformation will be channeled through. We also have, AI technologies coming in there, and we'll dive deep into how AI is a double-edged sword, both for any other business or for cybersecurity specifically. So what is then, top sources telling us about the trends of cybersecurity going into 2024. Again, this is a sneak peek. I have sneak peeks from three different, top credible source information, and I would want us to see the trend that will then highlight what we're going to concentrate on as the major trends. So from the World Economic Forum, we see emerging technologies being a key trend that we have to prepare for and be aware of, and in the way it impacts cybersecurity. There's a growth of inequality. We are in this ecosystem where we have third parties, and those third parties have fourth parties, and because either some have financial muscles to actually secure themselves vis-a-vis those that they are working with, and you find that inequality really playing a critical role in how we get to be cyber resilient. Be it from, can a small enterprise, as an example, afford cyber insurance? So that inequality really plays a role, and we'll see a call to say, how do we collaborate more going into 2024? The other aspect is around resilience. We talk a lot and we mix these two words, resilience and cybersecurity. And I will highlight how all of us, much as we are in the cybersecurity space, have to start putting on the hat of cyber resilience. Because we have seen the greatest of companies that have all the security, capabilities that you can find, also still suffering, cyber attacks. What does that tell us? That we can no longer stand, and put on a blindfold and say, you know what, we are going to put preventative controls, which is a main focus of cybersecurity, and be able to secure you as an organization. But rather, we need to start preaching resilience to see how do we become agile enough as organizations to recover should an incident happen. The other critical trend is around cybersecurity skills and the gap that there is, and the urgency that there is around people reskilling, taking new career journeys to really fill the gap that we have within this space. And I know, talking to Ugandans, you might go to the job bucket and say, but where are these jobs? We are not seeing them. It's either organizations haven't matured enough and prioritized cybersecurity, but if they did that, they would know that actually they need, competent people to secure their organizations. The other one that is critical is around, like I said, third-party risk that comes through the supply chain that we operate in within any ecosystem. Quickly, I'll look at what Gartner is still talking and you'll see again same themes coming through. Gartner has top 9 trends in cybersecurity for 2024. We see cyber reskilling coming up again. We see third-party cyber risk management coming up again. He brings in the aspect of privacy. We have seen a lot of regulations coming in around data privacy, and that calls for us to actually be intentional on how we achieve that. And we have had topics like, themes like design, privacy by design. That has not been the norm. A lot of the systems that we have, we find that you have to build security on top. But the driver for privacy is to say, can you catch it at the very beginning before you even upload the data? We have generative AI and World Economic Forum talked about emerging technologies and their impact on the trend of cybersecurity. Again, we still see a common trend from that report. I'll finish the sample of different companies with a report from Google Cloud, giving us a forecast of 2024. And their top 5 trends are around AI, again, the national, state cyber warfare, geopolitical issues that we're having. I know at the top, Russia has been, what we think is at the top, but when you go to the statistics, actually, China is leading in the cyber wars that they are, originating. And that is going to continue to be a trend, especially with, and it's a coincidence that 2024, we have a lot of countries going to the polls, including the US. Then they talk about zero-day attacks and the use of other techniques to evade detection. You can see of all that we have been talking about, this is the first time we kind of got technical in terms of trends. And it's not, I don't want to say it's by default or by error. When we talk of cyber security trends, a lot of us box it into what is the threat landscape? What are the new, variances of ransomware that we're going to see? But cybersecurity as an industry is quite wide and complex, and you have to pay attention to all the bits and pieces that make this industry what it is, and ensure that whatever program you put in place actually covers you end to end. So Google Cloud also talks about major activities that will result in a rise in true cyber activities. We have the Olympics coming too in France. We'll see a lot of phishing that is taking all shapes and forms. You have won a ticket, click here and you'll be able to get France. So all that comes as a result of, even the economic environment that we operate in. And finally, the way malware is developed will change. We're seeing new technology starting to be used as a malware is being developed to circumvent what we have always known as the preventative controls, be it antivirus, or if you have an EDR, endpoint detection and response capability in place. These sophistications are coming in to say, can we circumvent what you have always relied on as preventative tools? So that's when I looked at those three reports alone, I felt like I was having, a word panic moment of the trends are too many. There's a lot to think about and to consider when we are planning and, advising business on how best we're going to secure them from a cybersecurity standpoint. And we shouldn't get overwhelmed, because in the ever-evolving landscape of cybersecurity, it's critical that one, we reflect on the past and foresee the future so that we can stay ahead of the curve. And we'll see quickly how, technologies are getting ahead of us as defenders, and why we are always playing a game of catch-up. And it's okay to play a game of catch-up from an informed point of view, rather than, it coming as a surprise. So I thought I would pick from that, influx of trends that we need to pay attention to, some of those key ones that, as a security profession that is executing a security program, or as a leader who has to go and get business buy-in and give them assurance of how, you're maturing their security posture, things that you need to start thinking about or reflect upon in relation to what you have already promised. Because Q1 of 2024 is already gone. So I imagine most of us already have plans, we are on our way to execution. So like I said, cyber resilience is what we need to all be thinking about. And much as previously we have used these two words as interchangeably as it can be, 2024 and beyond, we're going to see a clear distinction. And it comes out of that real awareness that, what, even the best of the best preventative measures that we put in place can't guarantee 100% protection. And the call for us is to develop capabilities that recover in an agile manner while minimizing any data loss or downtime in 2024. But how shall we achieve that? To be optimistic around cyber resilience, one, there's, the need to be aware that you can't win alone, and there's need for collaboration and, industrial and ecosystem collaboration. I'll give an example. When Kenya had anonymous Sudan incident, denial of service attack, to some of us, it looked like, that was the first time this, organization was coming out to attack. But when you look back on the trend, they have been at it, having, attacks on Microsoft as early as 2022. But the question would also be, did the SAT in Uganda have a collaborative effort with the SAT in Kenya? And that is the cyber incident response team. I know we have one as a country to say, how did you overcome this? Because I know come January, we nearly had a near miss where our telecoms were a target from the same actor. So how we collaborate will enable us to be better resilient organizations. If you're in the same industry, finance, banking, telecom, fintech, how do you collaborate and make sure that if you have had an incident, another one can learn from it and build resilience to respond better. The other one is around governance and culture. There's strong belief that if you have that, cyber governance and regulations will continue to help us mitigate this risk. Because if, for example, as a regulator, he mandates that you have to report any cyber incident you have and have created a forum in which that information is then dispersed to any other concerned party, then it will help you, self-check and build resilience. Enhancing our cyber defense technologies is also critical. But above all, we still have to focus on the basics, actually. We know that 80% of what, attack vectors that are exploited, when you go back, these are things that you could have, remediated 2 days ago, be it patching, be it ensuring that anything you expose to the internet is using, secure communication protocols, basic things that, fall through the cracks and end up impacting us as organizations. Last but not least, we still really need to skill up and educate not just the security professionals, but even our own staff and users to ensure that they are creating that human firewall that we require out of them. The other aspect in terms of trends was to look at what is trending in terms of the threat landscape and what should we be concerned about and what preventative or any capability we're putting in place. What should it be looking at in terms of protecting the organization? Again, this is an extract from the Google Cloud forecast report. We see emphasis on the fact that we continue to see zero-day vulnerabilities being painful, one to remediate, because when it's zero-day, you find even a patch or a fix is not readily available from the vendor. So we have to grapple with that and ensure that we can quickly come in and how do we have mitigating controls around that is not in our control. And then attacks targeting hybrid and multi-cloud environment. We know a lot of organizations are on that journey to cloud. And the first initial phase one, a lot of us have approached it from a hybrid standpoint. So we see actors looking at the opportunities that come with that and being ready to exploit that going into 2024. Extortion operations will continue. We'll continue to see a lot of ransomware, sophisticated phishing attacks that are aimed at really financial gains. Like we said, third-party supply chain, software package managers, where we get attacks via software package managers will continue to happen. I think what continues to run in our minds, one is SolarWinds, but beyond SolarWinds, we saw other, companies that are commonly used grappling with how fast they move to fix any zero-day vulnerability so that they don't find themselves in the SolarWinds instance. The other aspect is around serverless services in the cloud, more heavily used by threat actors. And that, again, it's premised on the fact that we are all going cloud, and that's where the attackers are finding the opportunity. Coming home, I thought this really rings true to where we are as Uganda, as a country, in terms of the growing prevalence of mobile cybercrime. Because a lot of what we are doing is we are putting a lot of critical information, critical applications on these small mobile phones. And they are in the hands of, I don't want to say layman, but we all have our competencies And you find that a lot of us that are holding these mobile phones, we don't even know the power they hold until it is stolen and your account is, be it mobile money or bank account, is wiped. So how we extend the awareness and the knowledge around the mobile device as a target to our customers is critical, because that is going to still be a prevalent target. The other one that I can really talk about here is cyber insurance premiums. Much as they stay steady, they are still quite high, and a lot of organizations, SMEs, cannot afford that. Comparing with this, and why I brought in this, because it brings in the aspect of AI technology misuse being a trend that we'll see going into 2024. We see advanced phishing techniques, same zero-day cloud security. So again, to just paint a picture that wherever you look, you'll find the same theme and pattern of what the trends that we need to be looking at are going to be. I then go to the bigger trend that I think everyone wants to hear on how artificial intelligence is going to impact cybersecurity and the economy as a whole. Again, I found this statistic, but before I dive into the statistics, is to say that we know that generative AI adoption has both sides to the battle, the good and the bad. But I will start with the good. The good being that the industry we are in as cybersecurity, when you look at, the data, you're saying we are the most to win in terms of using artificial intelligence within our work. So in terms of mitigating risks, cyber risk is looked at as one of those risks that will benefit highly from AI. I saw a hand up.
No, then
Am I?
No, it's okay. Please
Okay.
proceed.
How much time do I have, by the way, so that I can know how to fast track myself?
No, you still have some time. You're within the right time.
Okay, you don't know how many slides I have.
Please proceed.
Yes, so one, we know that cybersecurity is one of those that is going to really benefit from the use of AI, but how? And you'll pardon me where you see statistics that really don't speak to say Uganda. We know how we're not good with data, and hence it's not readily available. But cybersecurity being a global risk, we find that most of these will still apply to us in country, but the level of maturity, of course, will differ. So the potential AI use cases in cybersecurity in 2023 in the United States were around monitoring of network traffic and detecting malware, analyzing user behavior patterns. And I think that can come in handy when you're dealing with fraud, automating responses to cybersecurity incidents. That is use of AI in EDR capabilities, automating configuration of security, cybersecurity infrastructure, and all that. So this is to paint that there is indeed good use case when it comes to artificial intelligence. The other aspect is around what benefits organizations have seen by incorporating artificial intelligence within their security operations. Improved detection, improved vulnerability management, accelerated incident response plan. You can see that this correlates with the use cases that we have actually seen on the page before. But this is really to cement that if you have not yet thought of AI, you don't want the attacker to, again, our game of chasing, to force you to actually adopt it when you find that it's the only way you'll be able to respond to some of the threats that you'll be seeing in your environment. So the awareness is to say, can you start the journey? It might not be a jump, but start crawling and say, what are those security operations that I can actually have AI start to do some work for me? That said, we then look at what are the concerns that we have around AI in regards to cybersecurity. And one of those is how it advances, adversary capabilities from phishing, malware development, and deepfakes. I know there was a story recently where a deepfake call did happen and someone paid out millions of dollars because it all looked real to the human eye. The other aspect is around data leakage, exposure of personally identifiable information through generative AI. And this could be through user awareness. People know that, this can help me write a report in one day. They will copy all proprietary data and paste it in a model that then will hold that information for good and can use it to reference when another person has a query. So that is also a risk that we have to be cognizant of. Increased complexity of security governance. Again, when we start saying, okay, AI has these weaknesses, but we want to use it, then how you use it the right way becomes a question, and how you create that governance, of course, is a challenge that we also still have to deal with, and so on and so forth, including legal concerns. So this is the double-edged sword that we see AI playing. But the final slide is to say, as we go into 2024, who is going to really be at the forefront and take advantage of AI? Is it the defenders or the attackers? And statistics really show us that the attackers are really, really ahead of us. And the challenge to us is, how do we catch up? How do we, get the 8.9 to a 50 or to a 40%? Because like it or not, it is the era we are in, and we have to continuously adopt. Otherwise, we will not be able to defend some of the threats that will come through powered by AI. The next trend is to guide us as we plan, as we go and ask, our management for support. Are we investing in the right things, and what is trending in terms of? And again, this is informed by what we're seeing as, cyber threats that are really materializing, and that's why you should have your efforts in terms of spend. When you talk about things like data privacy and data security. But looking at the spend worldwide going to 2024, we see a lot of reliance on security services. And it's not a surprise, because it correlates with the skill gap and skill shortage, that if I can't have in-house people, then I have to really have either managed services. If I need to do penetration testing, I have to look for a company that actually has the competencies to do that for me. So a lot of us are still reliant on security services that we, use to ensure we are protecting our organizations. But beyond that, we see spend on cloud security, on data security, identity and access management, and network security equipment as the major spends as people try to protect their perimeters and all that. Again, this is an insight that doesn't really go far away from the trend that we have just seen above, but to emphasize that we are going to still see continual continue. I think this is more or less the same slide that we've talked about, but looking at the percentage growth rate in the different categories and where people are spending most. Again, it's not surprising that cloud security is up there, as cloud adoption continues to be a driver in, digital transformation, or, our technology infrastructure stack for most of the organizations. So as you go into 2024, the advice and coming off the back of, we need to start, embedding some AI into your capabilities. We see that we need to prioritize modernization of our technologies, including the cybersecurity infrastructure, also optimizing of our current technology and investment. We found ourselves, I don't want to say either in panic mode when you have an incident, when you get all these technologies, but when you sit back, you find that maybe 3 of them share 50% of the capabilities, but you're still paying for all those capabilities along all those technologies. So taking that step back and say, you know what, if E5 stack can, Microsoft E5 stack can cover, you know, a lot of the capabilities I'm looking for, how do I optimize it and start reducing the operational overhead I have on having these many technologies in place? It doesn't take away from having a layered defense, because you have, yes, Microsoft, but it's giving you different capabilities. The belief we had in layered defense was, okay, I have a McAfee antivirus, I will put the MDE Microsoft Defender for antivirus on top of it, and maybe I'll have Kaspersky, and all you're doing is creating, they are all signature based. You're not, improving the cost of the organization. So that is critical for us who run security operations, and how do we optimize the current technologies. Then ongoing improvements in this posture based on a cyber roadmap. Have a clear cyber roadmap and follow through, so that you're able to measure progress and say, you know what, whatever I do is actually reducing the risk exposure my organization has. Security training is still critical, both for the technical and non-technical staff, as the human firewall is critical in the journey of technology, people, processes, and systems. Cool. The other aspect that I thought would also be a good trend for us to look into is what regulations are coming up and what they mean for cybersecurity, and also the aspect of cyber insurance, since it's a critical piece, especially when you're working the cyber resilience journey. It is what will save you after all has failed. In case of ransomware, and you're not resilient enough, and even your backups are impacted and whatnot, because you'll have lawsuits, you'll have all these things. So how do you recover as an organization? Cyber insurance becomes a critical piece in your journey. So looking at going into 2024 and from 2023 and beyond, there's a lot of regulations that are coming in to help manage cyber risk. And we'll see a lot of regulations around artificial intelligence. I know some countries like Canada have really put their foot down around the use of AI and trying to govern it. I talked about how mandatory reporting of cyber risk from a regulatory point of view will help us collaboratively manage cyber within the economy as a whole. So there's a lot of positivity or the peak out of any regulations that come in. I know, of course, as organization, the first time it comes, you're like, now I have to, align and be able to comply so that I don't have penalties from the regulator or anything. But the sooner that we appreciate that they are for good and to help us continuously improve our security posture, I think is critical, so that we can embrace them early and actually align and ensure that we are getting the wins out of it. But maybe the other concern would be for, if the regulators are here, is how they then support organizations to have that period of embedment and get to that maturity is also critical. Again, collaborative effort to ensure that we are all winning, because this is a global war. When it comes to cyber insurance, we see, again, from a resilience standpoint, countries continuing to buy into cyber insurance as a critical cyber security control. You can see the leap that will happen from 2021. The projection of 2025 is more than double what people are spending or what the market size was in 2021. So it's to say that as you look out to build resilience, let us know that cyber insurance is also one critical piece that we can rely on. And that is justified by the factor of where within business, the business world, where the cyber, incidents and crime lie in terms of impacting business, and hence the need for you to have a portion of your insurance covering you against the cyber threats that you are exposed to, from data breaches. Fines will come through, penalties, and insurance will be there to ensure that you do not, collapse as a business. I'll quickly hit on the cyber warfare, and most of the times we think the impact is economical, the impact is, social. If you look at the Russia-Ukraine war, but also what came out of that, as an example, is the fact that Russia was also a critical cybersecurity vendor in terms of companies that do security technologies that were running out of Russia. And there was that panic for some organizations to actually switch technology and all that. So beyond impacting the economy and whatnot, we see cyber warfare also impacting cybersecurity as an industry from a control and technology that is available. But that said, the number of incidents with political dimensions, we have, non-political politicized attack on political targets. We have targets on critical infrastructure. We have seen that within the East African region. We have attacks conducted by non-states with political goals. And these will continue to happen going into 2024, given the political environment I've talked about, with many countries going to the polls. What are the countries that are really behind a lot of the cyber warfare? Like I said, China is up there with Russia, Iran, Ukraine, and we can no longer think that we are far out from it. Africa, when you're trying to conceptualize and say, okay, yes, we are all exposed, but am I a target needs to, pay attention to this? I think the last few years have shown that we are potential to have these targets on us as an economy or as a country, and they will trickle down to our organizations, definitely. I think this should be last but not least. Being with IS2 for a long time, I know we are in the business of ensuring we are skilling and improving professionals within the cybersecurity space. But the trend is to really see that we are still having a lot of gaps within cybersecurity as a profession. And this highlights the leading skill gaps among cybersecurity teams worldwide. And if there's anything to take from it, is to say, how do I go and build these skills and be that person who will, fill that gap? From cloud computing, security, artificial intelligence, and machine learning is coming through. We throw around 0-day implementation, and some people think it's a technology, but we know this is a framework in how you ensure that you are implementing zero trust. We have penetration testing. How many of us? I know the like of IS2 or ISACA will have a portal that tells you in the country how many of, as Uganda, how many do you have as CISSP professionals? I don't know if we have grown beyond 40 yet. The last time I did that certification, I think I was number 30, which is a while back. But these are some of the gaps that we have, and if you are a professional looking to grow your career, you can, be the leader in terms of taking on some of these career aspirations. But beyond the technical, we also continue to get research that says as security experts, we need the soft skills more. If you're in a SOC as an example, before you even understand anything, your analytical skills will come in handy to say, I can look at this thing and interpret it. To put technology aside, and can I logically map it out and be able to come to a conclusion? So as we continue to serve in this profession and going into 2025 and beyond, let us as techie people start building the soft skills, because they are proving to be more useful than we think. Because if we're going to have AI take on some of the complex, work that we do, then we had better challenge it with the soft skills that are really needed, from presentation skills, how you explain an incident to senior management for them to understand it, is critical. So as you journey on, this is our challenge, and I hope that from an operational standpoint, you can go and reflect and say, am I focusing on the right things, given the trend of cybersecurity? But am I also focusing on the right skills as a profession to make sure that I am better for it in the years to come? Thank you so much, and back to you, Jordan.
Thank you so much, Diana, for sharing your insights into this, I believe, a very, very fundamental topic. So let's, without wasting any time, let's dive into that Q&A session. A number of people have shared some comments and questions in the chat. So we'll start off with, thank you, Diana. In light of the challenges associated with the rigid adoption of DevSecOps practices, mostly when organizations are hesitant to embrace change and prefer sticking to their native software development lifecycle, what strategies can be implemented to encourage a more seamless integration of security throughout the development process? And additionally, how can organizations address concerns related to third-party reluctance to provide access to source code for security review?
I merely want to scroll and see, to try and guess where this question is coming from. But I'll now answer that one from a personal experience. And from the point where I say that data privacy is coming in and saying, you know what, we want, say, security by design, privacy by design. Why should it even be a thing? Because there was always that belief that, you know what, me, I'm a coder, I'm going to do my part. How it's provided it works. The logic business works. The rest that surrounds it is none of my business. And it's a perception that we continuously have to change, to say that everyone in their role is a cybersecurity expert. If you go to the NICE framework about security roles, you'll be surprised that, system developer, system administrators are actually categorized as cybersecurity roles. And it's not in error, because everyone in whatever position you are in an organization, you are a security expert. So if there's that understanding and appreciation, that means everyone, every time they are doing their work, be it in DevSec, you'll put on that hat and say, okay, what is the security that I need to embed before, the standalone security experts come to tell me what is wrong, that I still have to fix myself. So it's a culture conversation and shift. But what I have done in my experience to get that buy-in quickly is to show that I'm on their side, that I'm ready to, get my hands dirty and walk the journey with them. But again, don't quote me wrong. If I show you something in your coding, practices today, and you remediate, and the following day you're giving me the same code with the same issues, then I think the learning is not happening. They will have what they want to term as a security tough conversation. But from the rightful answer is to say, how do we do a culture shift and change of mindset on who lies with the security responsibility, and all of us enhancing that knowledge in whatever role that we are playing, so that there's not that conflict when we're delivering. I hope I answered the question.
Yes, you did. Another question. Great presentation. I noticed there is a lot of statistics in the slides on a board and CISO level. Is this how you'd want information presented to you? I'd actually resonate so much with this question, because there are always people who approach me and say, how do you communicate? There is always that issue of how does a technical person relate or take that message of cybersecurity for the board level or someone within top management to appreciate of like, we need this cybersecurity investment, but how do you, I guess statistics do help, I believe so, but maybe Diana, you can chip in here that question.
Thank you. Yes, statistics do help because we know people in business, relate more to numbers. But beyond numbers, what I've come to see is that they relate even better to value. Because yes, you have these numbers and all that, at the back of the end, they will appreciate and say, okay, we see the impact if we don't do this. But they can still say, but it has not happened in 10 years. We have not had an incident that has costed us this much, but you want me to spend this much. Then you have to demonstrate value. And we have a chance to demonstrate value beyond just the cyber protection. Like I said, the cyber landscape is so big. We have regulations and guidelines to comply to. So if you bring it from the part of, okay, we might not have an incident, but the regulator is going to come and fine you this amount that you actually do not want to pay now. Value to say it has not happened now, but this is how it could actually materialize. The value to say we are going to instill digital trust in our customers. So how you demonstrate the value beyond just saying it will cost you this is what I will save you, compared to the incidents that we have seen happen. How does business get value that actually grows the business? Is I think critical as we communicate. So statistics and a lot of this also had technical, wording, because I knew I was speaking to technical people. They also want to see how you break down phishing. Is it a fish or what is it? So even if you have the word there, the English you use to explain what phishing is also critical to deliver the information.
Next question. When it comes to Uganda, what, in your opinion, are the top 3 cybersecurity threats and how can they be mitigated?
Wow, when we come to Uganda, and it's a thin line saying it is cyber and it is outright fraud. But looking at the landscape, I think we're grappling with mobile crime. And to some extent, while it borderlines just fraud, if you dug deep, we have, malware being planted on people's devices. We are having people fish through WhatsApp. You see a link and you're clicking on it. And it's because that is the endpoint that we know is closest to people. So you wonder how your credentials were leaked, but you can't recall that you actually clicked on a link yourself, but now you're running to the bank or whoever and saying, they stole my phone, you should have protected me. How did this happen? So on the grand theme of things, I think mobile attacks are critical. Just looking at the trend where denial of service attacks are coming with actors that are activists and targeting, government sectors. If there's any lesson that we took from the Kenya incident and the near miss that we had in January, we know that that is also coming within our ecosystem. Those would be the top 2 that I think we have to really prioritize and solve for.
This is something related to when you were talking, responding to a question about the board. So this is another question. How are board members reacting to intelligence like what you have presented in Uganda? Are they just looking on or reacting accordingly from your experience?
This is a tricky one to answer, but again, from my experience, and I even will relate to an experience of when I was hired for one role. When I go to the organization, it was hire out of panic. And then they expect you to do a miracle and, look for the holes and close them, and you no longer have incidents coming through. So that said, if you meet any board member and say, what is not making you sleep? What are you worried about? All of them will say cybersecurity. But sometimes you feel that it's being said out of fear and not the reality of what cybersecurity means to the business and whatnot. So that education still needs to go to come through. And also, even when you're having a conversation or presentation, and sometimes when questions don't come through, it's either there's some understanding or it's because you're talking complex things that people acknowledge but really don't want to dive in. So generally, from my Uganda perspective and how organizations are driving cybersecurity from a fear point of view and saying, yeah, I'm supporting, let nothing happen. And then when they support, you say, and you say like, hey, yes, you have supported, but I'm not guaranteeing you 100%. They're like, why am I giving you money? And I think we continue to have that honest conversation to say, I'll do the best. And that's why the conversation is about cyber resilience is critical. We have to sell cyber resilience, to say, I am here to make sure that I can timely detect, respond, and mitigate the impact. Not necessarily that I'm going to stop an attacker sitting out there and trying to attack and having some level of success. So for boards, I think if they can get a grasp around cyber resilience, it would even give them more comfort because you're actually telling them the hard truth that, you know what, I will protect to the extent I can, but the best thing I can say, I'm ready to recover should an impact or should an incident occur.
Okay. Thank you, Diana, for answering those questions. Not wanting to interfere with people's lunch, we have 2 minutes left to the top of the hour. So I'm going to invite our President, Angela Tugume, to share her closing remarks, and we'll close this webinar. Over to you, Angela.
Thank you very much, Jerry. And awesome presentation from our proud member, Diana. Diana, we're proud to have you as a member of the ICT chapter. And thank you for keeping the flag high up there. To our dear esteemed attendees, I really, really hope that this webinar has been very insightful. And as you go back to your workplaces, you're going to be able to speak to your workmates, to the board, to the management on how best to deal with issues around cybersecurity and cyber resilience. And one of the things just to bring out and to break out the fact that it's not about not getting hacked. It's not about not getting attacked. It's about recovery. How fast, how soon do you recover? How quickly do you mitigate the damage? When you get attacked, are you completely out of business, or are you resilient? Do you come back to business first? So that's one of the key messages that we should go out and preach to our boards, to our management. Diana, thank you so much once again. A round of applause, and I hope you all have a nice lunch. Jerry, there's a question on how members can join the ISC2 chapter. Just throw into the link address, and then we'll be able to reach out to you once we get your request via email address. And also remember to follow us on LinkedIn, ISC2 Chapter Uganda, Twitter or X, ISC2 Uganda Chapter as well. And yes, to everyone else that has attended, please spread the good news. We'll be sharing the presentation, and we'll watch out for our next presentation next month. And remember to share within your network. So have a great day and take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.